this one at a time, because this is really one of the first times that a chapter has come here to be able to learn. What do we have? What do you guys have? Everything that I show you is not mine. It's yours. It's all yours. Okay? So, here's the national office that we're going in.
And today is September 20, 2009, and this is the national office.
Let's come on.
Okay, thank you.
I'm blessed to come here. And
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Fred Cordova is our founding
Look around
president.
first and I'll explain everything. Just look around.
And Ronnie Lynn is taking the video right now.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
There's a book.
He died.
Yeah. I don't know, but he was young.
It's all, we can find a chair. Let's just get a
Thank
chair.
you.
Yeah.
Do other chapters, have other chapters visited the archive?
No, she
No.
said this is the first.
Oh, I
This is
didn't hear
really-
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
people have been coming in. Yeah, let's all sit down.
I didn't hear it.
I just
Everybody's been coming in individually, but not as a chapter. But typical Oregon, being the number one, having a newsletter called Chapter 1,
Because of Lourdes.
you know,
And Ronnie.
it's only logical that it's the first time that Oregon would be the first to do this. And I appreciate this very, very much. So when you look around, as typically as Filipino-American as we are, as Pinoy as we are, we don't have the fancy furniture, fancy office or anything else. But from here, the room next to this one and downstairs probably, we've got the best collection of things Filipino-American through the whole United States.
really.
Yeah. Much more so than any of the universities or colleges at this particular point. And that's simply because of what those that have been in FANHS, we're now 26, 27 years. We started in 1982, and so we're 27 years old. We will be 27 years old in November.
Wow.
Do you plan to keep the archives in Seattle?
Well,
Even if the museum will be in Stockton?
that's going to have to be you, Madam Trustee. She's a trustee, and that's going to be up to them. This portion of the funds thing is Dorothy's. All of the files and everything on both sides are all basically a lot of the research that she has done. Way before the fund started. And we have in here photographs, which we have yet eventually to scan.
That's the work in that scanning.
See, all of these things. On that side are our tapes. We have a lot of tapes yet that have to be transcribed and everything. That's the FYA folder.
Has this actual transcribing been done already or started?
No, there's about 300 tapes yet that have to be transcribed. Yeah, and these are tapes now that are about 20 years old.
Oh,
Some of these tapes now, some of the people that we've interviewed are gone at this particular point. But basically everything that you can see comes out of that desk where she sits. The moral of the story basically is, if it isn't for Dorothy, we would not have had anything. I'm just the driver, you know, and the sort of help clean up and everything else. Now, out of all of the trustees that we had, Lourding has probably been one of the very first ones that we've had from the very, very beginning. And she has spent a lot of time here a lot of doing the grunge work of what you eventually of being able to see. So, to your question, eventually, that's gonna have to be up. That's gonna have to be up to whatever,
The
Yeah.
trustees.
whatever the governance. FANHS has 27 trustees, and this year she's one of our very first trustees. We've only had 2 trustees come out of Oregon, and that's Lording and her. And what we tried to do with the trustees,
Ferdy.
Freddie
But he
McDonald.
resigned
Freddie
after
McDonald. I'm
2
sorry about
years.
that.
After
Yeah.
2 years.
You look at all the different pictures. Some of these big pictures that we've got,
They're in the book, in your book.
some of these big pictures we got came out of very, very small photographs, and it's been blown up so that we use a lot of this for the exhibits, is what we have. This one is the first Filipino family in Seattle. She is Rufina Clemente Jenkins from Bicol.
Yay, Bicol!
And he is a Army sergeant in the Spanish-American War,
Because American
who was a Spanish translator because his mother was also Mexican. And
Who found them? Who found them? You did?
we found him because one of the grandkids
Oh,
was a cashier in the grocery store, and we had stuff in the
Yeah,
cart, and
yeah.
she said, "Are you gonna make adobo out of that?" This is the Tim. There was a black woman who said, "Are you gonna make adobo out of that?" And he said, "Yes." How did you know? Well, my grandmother. That's how it started, right?
Easy.
Well, see, that is what the Oregon chapter has to do. I mean, you already got it in the book.
I think they came in 1950.
You already got. But I tell you what, look around here first of all in this room, then I'm going to bring you inside to the other side. You catch it, don't worry. I'm going to show you everything we got on my side. This is Dorothy's side, so I don't want to, and as I tell the students, the real teacher is Dorothy.
Didn't you go to the Rose Festival in Portland?
We were there in 1960.
Well, the junior and the senior. But when you were in Portland, 44, because we hosted the Seattle bunch.
Yeah.
Who came?
Some more folders over here.
Wow.
All the folders, all these at the University of Washington. This is a reader at the University of Washington, our class again. About 3 years ago, when we had a class at the University of Washington, she would come 3 days out of a week to go to the class. The class was on Filipino-American history and culture,
Wow.
and we're doing it again.
She was
Oh, so you're running.
It's a 5-hour credit course.
And I came by train
This-
or by
I'll
bus.
show that, we'll give this to the students. This is gonna be our Bible. It's got everything in here that we need.
Wow.
It's a reader, yeah. Yeah.
Culture, and I decided to go to University of Washington where they teach with Manang Dorothy Cordova. And I either drive, take the bus, or take the train. And if I take the Greyhound, my son in New York worried about me.
Yeah, one of the students was John, now Dr. John Markley, eventually, and Maria. They were a student. By and large, this is basically the national office on this side. Now I'll show you the archives.
This used to
Have
be.
you always been here?
Everybody coming in, yes. Everybody come on in,
Okay, let's go in here.
because I'm gonna do this one at a time. As you can tell, all the white balls are our chapters around the country. Nobody in the funds, including chapters, get paid. This is all volunteer.
Yes.
This is all volunteer, and we're only as good as what we could provide, what we could, what we can volunteer for. We're not like the Japanese or the Chinese, where they got all the money they can give. I wish we could do the same thing here, but until our kind of people have that kind of money, that kind of generosity, and so on, Dorothy figured we got to do what we got to do. Because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? Nobody else is going to do it. As they would say many, many times, some of our people, unfortunately, tamad.
Correct.
That's what it comes down to. All right, to the idea of chapters.
Chapters.
Oregon,
Tatapos na lang po.
Oregon's starts here,
Oregon.
all the way,
Look at the Oregon.
all the way
Nirvana
to
Oh,
here.
yeah.
All of this
Yeah.
is all Oregon.
Yeah.
So with Oregon, I have 1997, 1999.
Oh, something
Dude.
dropped.
I've got all of the something to do with youth. Remember when we had part of the youth,
Oliveros.
all right? The symposium now, 2008, 2009.
Tapusin na muna.
Chapter 1, all of the newsletters are here.
How many?
Wala po
I
tayo
have only
first
about
submit.
22. Only that you sent.
Yes. Only
It's
that.
only-
Because if it's not complete, I can complete it.
Yes, good.
Well,
That was
which-
So I will
way.
take a look at it later.
Whichever way, yeah.
How, what is missing?
All right, so this is all, that's all Oregon chapter.
Chapters.
Okay. Some more
Individ-
chapters over
more
here.
chapters.
All of this. So anytime I find something,
Uh-huh.
it either comes out of the internet, or there's a newspaper, or a letter, or whatever, it all goes in here. So by and large, we're keeping a track. I mean, it's crazy if we don't keep a track of our own stuff when we're keeping track of everybody else's besides. These,
Operations.
these are just my operations, whatever I need to do, whatever I need. So for instance,
How do you classify
if
them?
I ask for memorials, I got it here. Here,
Go.
something on
yeah.
golf, or golf tournament and so on. So it's all here.
That's your file.
This is all, the orange is all the trustees stuff.
Oh, trustees.
Yeah, that I got. Okay. National conferences. We started in,
From the first, the 13th.
our first conference was in Seattle in 1997, and all the way to Alaska. So it's all here, everything. The blues are the archives I keep track of. Yeah, as I call it, the National Pinoy Archives, NPA. And I did that intentionally to call it NPA because those in the Philippines thought, what the heck is NPA? And they hear it, they go like this all the time. So
People's Army.
the brown is for our museum, which is in Stockton.
They're making.
Yeah. And all the rest, this has to do with Filipino History Month. October, as you all know, that you're going to be celebrating, is in October. And I got whatever it is in History Month. And then some other stuff. These pinks are those people that have applied to become chapters, but have never finished, have never really, sent anything at all. So I keep it on just in case. Sometimes it takes them a year, sometimes it takes them 10 years to make up their mind. You want to become chapters. Now, everything that's Filipino institution. So for instance, this is the Filipino-American Historical Society of Chicago. It's not our chapter, but it's here. Springfield, Illinois is all here. Philippine Studies, kind of stuff. Whatever Filipino organization that deals with research on history, education, or whatever, I got in here. Including 2 from the Philippines, National Historical Institute in Ermita, Manila, and
I think I'm
Philippine Historical Association in Manila itself. It's all here. Then I got institutions. All the different institutions, museums, Smithsonian, if they do something that has to do with Filipino, I put in here. Let's see, Oregon. Let's see what they got for Oregon. Oregon Historic History Center. Do with Filipino in here. Japanese and so on, even though they don't do anything Filipino, I keep it here because just in case we may want to do something, why reinvent the wheel? Let's say what they're going to do at the same time. All right. American Historical Society, National. We're not bright to promote in our communities. They're going to say, who the hell are you? You know?
We're very quiet.
What's it got to do for me? You know?
Historical Society.
This is Japanese alone. Now, can you imagine us doing a book like this? Imagine us doing a book like this. Never, never. It's going to take us 1,000,000 years before we do something like this. Is just from the Japanese Museum
Ronnie Lim, are you listening?
in Los Angeles. Especially bagong dating will come from the Philippines. But they don't give a damn. I mean, they're into themselves. They think that Filipino-American history, their Filipino-American history, began when they got off the plane. I have problems right now because there are people around the country who do not call October Filipino-American History Month. They call it Heritage. And they don't say American. Filipino Heritage Month. Jesus God. You know, switch, move things around on their own. And I tell them, heritage has nothing to do with October. It's a historical thing that happened when the first Filipinos came here to the United States in October.
October 18th.
October 18th. Heritage, if you're talking about heritage, that has to do with the Philippines. Us as brown, our value system, you know what I mean? All that. Our language and all that. That is our heritage. FANHS is not into that. It's a historical society. Makes a lot of difference.
Bagong dating means newly arrival,
Yeah.
new immigrants.
Yeah. Well, you know, I every so often I get, maybe I'm just a little tired of having, you know, somebody else got to do this now. I'm only 78 years old, that's all. I'm getting tired of this stuff. Own history.
But it was not the first to be organized.
No, of course not. 1587.
All right.
Nobody said that. Nobody talked about we being here in Louisiana in 1760. No,
No, you started the work.
Oh, no.
You're very proud of that, that's why. When you did start, I will be one of those that I'll have to distribute in Oregon for a fundraising. In the meantime, for September 17, something like that, I did not come, so.
Well,
But she will give us a copy of our revised letter.
and to Al Newman, they're talking about
Oh,
a
you
resolution in October
you
in
did
Oregon.
You did already.
And there were changes, whatever.
We talked about that in our last meeting. Okay.
And then she said to send it over to have it approved by the national office.
Oh.
I sent it back, I said, hey, in the FANHS spirit, every chapter has an independent way of doing things.
Right.
You do it the way you should do it as Oregonians. And whatever comes out, we trust you because it's from Oregon.
I send it for your information.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I know.
is that what
I got
you-
it.
is
It's
that
in
what
there.
you-
I forwarded for their information.
And you know, thank God for Paul. You know, here's the other thing. Thank God for Paul Newman.
I'll give them.
Thank God for Paul Newman,
Yes, help with that.
who is white. Had the generosity and the time to do something for Filipinos. What the hell? And that's the reason why we in FANHS, when you're not a stranger to us. You are part of us.
We wish you was a stranger to
You're
us.
part of us because our
Sometimes
because
he
of her.
hides.
No, that's a value. That's a heritage, a Philippine heritage that we have.
Al has committed himself to the Filipino community.
It's called incluso and called kasama. You know that kind of thing.
He's the
Yeah.
ex-president of the Oregon Chapter, Al Munam.
Yes. Yeah.
He'll know all about our FANHS and archives.
Is a Filipino already.
Elizabeth is very generous.
All right, let's go over here.
The first-
Let's see if we get down. Get over here on this
person to
side. Facilities are all here. All the buildings, facilities. So which one?
So we have also
So it's all this,
Filipino-American,
right?
cultural centers.
Here,
Folk dances.
folk dances. Choral groups.
Martial arts.
The teatro, what's the name?
Bagong Silangan.
It's all in,
Teatro Silangan.
it's in here.
Rudy Del Rosario.
Yeah, it's in here. And then I got entertainment as well. Black Eyed Peas is
Black
probably
Eyed.
one of your best ones right now. See? It's all here.
Very organized.
Here are the
Dance.
campus groups from all over the country. Filipino campus organizations. It's all here.
So
Around
there's
the
a
country.
PSU Kaibigan.
So let's
Sometimes
say
I
what?
give, George Washington.
Philippine Cultural Society in George Washington, in Washington D.C. It's all here. Okay.
Yeah.
I
They
have
have
Portland State
We
here.
have a society there.
Portland State Kaibigan is in here, right? This one we need a lot more. We need actually the text of the different law enactments that we've done. I don't have it all. But this is all government documentation here. Now, if I can find, oh here, associations, national associations, all here. If they're not associations or community associations, then regular, here, cultural groups and whatever, you name it. And the biggest one that we've got,
Yeah.
look what Paco's got. Okay?
We need more.
So the question here basically is, anything that's Filipino-American should be saved. Anything should be saved. Now, if I don't have it here and I don't have it here, general subject file, then you go here, general subject. Foods, you know, Denver, Filipinos in Denver, affirmative action, and you know, whatever. It's all here. Now, let me see. What do I have in Oregon?
How can you keep it straight? Goodness.
Now, she doesn't do much. This woman by the name of Markley.
Was it
Have
changed?
6 or more folders, and I keep it here.
No.
One of my best ones. One of the best ones is Tim Lincecum. He won the Cy Young Award last year for the National League. He came out of the University of Washington, and he's got right now with the San Francisco Giants 14 wins and 5 losses for the San Francisco Giants. All right. So sports, I got everything here. Every day I
You
go
get that
through.
Filipino boxer yet?
Huh?
You get that Filipino boxer?
I have Filipino boxers, but not Manny
Pacquiao.
Not Manny Pacquiao. No.
Oh,
Until, see, now here's the difference. Filipino-American.
Ah, yes.
Until he becomes a Filipino-American by residing full-time in America, besides just coming here and getting money, all right? He's a Filipino. So that's a Philippine history, not Filipino-American history.
Goes to Hawaii.
However, downstairs I have folders on Marcos, our the Philippine president. I started his folder, remember, after, what do you call the revolution?
People power.
All right. When he finally gets on the plane
Yeah.
and he lands in Guam, right? Boom, that starts the Filipino-American experience. All the way until Hawaii, even when he's dead, his body is still in Hawaii, that's still a Filipino-American experience. I stopped when they put his plane to put his body in a plane, takes off back to the Philippines, I stop. Now, I'm very, very, what do you call them? What is Filipino? and What
Filipino-American.
is Filipino-American? Yeah. My definition, FANHS style. What is the Filipino-American? One, a person born in the Philippines comes to the United States legally, gets a green card, is a resident in the United States, is a Filipino-American. Two, a person born in the Philippines who comes to the United States, gets a green card, and then after 5 years becomes a naturalized citizen, is a Filipino-American. Third, a Filipino-American is one who was born of immigrant parents or great-grandparents down to the umpteenth generation is a Filipino-American. As I tell the students, as long as you got one drop of bagoong in you, you're ours. That's the third. I have a fourth one. A Filipino born in the Philippines comes to the United States illegally. Comes to this country and begins to work. Becomes part of the community. All right? Now, when it's time to eat in the community, we don't say only the legals can eat. Everybody eats.
And TNT.
When there's a
is-
meeting, we don't say only the legals have. Everybody has a chance to do something.
True.
All right? He is a member of the community. Until the United States government pulls him out, hey, he's part of us. He is still our brother and our sister. And as far as we're concerned, he or she is a Filipino-American because when they're here, they obey the laws as much as they can, pay the taxes as much as they can, and do everything that the rest of us do. Is a Filipino-American. So I stretch it as much as I can because the reason for that is our community today has a tendency to say, oh, you don't look like a Filipino. And especially the American born, can you talk in Tagalog? Huh? You born in the Philippines? Well, you're not Filipino. How many times that's said to me? It's said to me many times. It's said to Dorothy many times. Dorothy and I have 16 grandchildren out of 8 kids. 16 grandchildren. 3 are Pinoy, I think. 3 are Latino, got Mexican, Spanish. That's 6. There's 10 more. The 10 more are African American. Now, one of these days, a Filipino from the Philippines is going to look at my grandkids, whose last name is Cordova, and they're going to say, oh, are you Filipino? You're not Filipino, are you? See what I mean? What a, you know, well, if there's anything with our community, part of FANHS tries to do, unite as much as possible.
Stand divided is
Yeah.
fall.
So that's the reason why, again, I say this over again, Bill, on account of you. You gotta feel like you're part of us. You're not just her husband.
No, I'm just the guy she kicks around.
Well, that's good. That's good enough. Because you learn in Filipino-American history, it's the women who run the show.
Yes.
That's the first thing you learn. Yeah. Concert, films, television is all here.
Oh, there's the film file.
And then, if you look at the Filipino publications now, newspapers, many of the national ads now are in Tagalog. You know, like
AT&T.
AT&T.
Yes. All the telephone company.
Verizon and Wells Fargo and all that. I'll keep it in there.
The headaches from doing this.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Who actually sees them? All these files?
Researchers,
Okay.
students,
The research.
sometimes filmmakers will come, or even those who are doing books will come. Those who do research, basically.
archives, and Manu Fred used to sit here with all the newspaper, and there's no air, and we're making him sick, and so I helped pay for the basement archives. We're all going downstairs now to see the archives.
Are we coming back?
Yeah, we're coming back in here. Oh, Madam Dorothy.
Yeah, I gave blood fast.
Okay, I'll just put this
Fast
one in.
for I'm here.
I'll just
I'll
put
watch your
this one in
step.
the corner.
Okay.
This is Dr.
No. See my
Dorothy Ligo Cordova, wife of Manong Fred Cordova, founders of FANHS. Okay, let's go. We're going downstairs now to see the National Pinoy Archives. Now we're going to the National Pinoy Archives catacomb.
catacombs.
Oh, Angie. Oh, yes.
Now, founder folders.
Somebody pull out Lynn. No, someone of us can already go in.
This is where it goes in. Yeah,
Some of us can go in.
and that one, this one, and this one can go in.
All right. And then we'll make copies of this.
Okay, and I have some more.
All right.
Anywhere, Perkins.
You are in this box.
These things are ready to be filed in the proper folders, like M. If there's a marklet there, we have to put in the marklet folder. If it's limb goes to the limb folder. And this is the work of Manu, Fred, and some volunteer students, but mostly the Cordovas. They're almost here like 14 hours a day or
We'll just
something.
have to get something else for her, okay? We'll have to get something else. If it's a newspaper, it's either the fold or the front,
Oh,
okay? So Flora,
that's for
all right,
Lori,
you
I
got- when
think.
you put it back, it's either this or this. The fold goes up.
Oh, okay.
The fold goes up.
Okay.
If you see eventually a staple, the staple goes down.
Okay.
Now,
Take mine home.
She likes fans as well.
I can't find my copies, Fred.
no, you need the magazine. This should not go, you know, I did this way before we started this.
Grandchildren, remember me, they will have to come here.
Yeah.
At least I can find it in here.
If ever they
We have a cousin by the name of Jose Ligo Floresca. And he was a carpenter, and he pieced that together after we were talking about what should be done to it. And the total cost is about $1,700, and he contributed $800 of his work for this.
That's a
Yeah.
good donation, $1,700 donation.
You know why? We're always on, it's a work in progress. All of that's gotta go in. Well, that stuff's all gotta go in, so every day things change.
So it's a lot of
Yeah,
material.
Yeah. The only thing that should be online should be eventually the inventory of the names, yes. But not, when you look at what's the guy that, it would take a person, how many days just to do this? And it would take a person who knows what he's doing, which means therefore money. It isn't worth it.
That corner place there, would you tell us about it? Let's go over there, Madam Fred. These books here. We are on the basement.
This eventually will be this is now the fledgling, we hope, National Library, Filipino FANHS, FANHS National Library, what all this is. We got books in here that are Philippine folklore. When was this done?
To be filed.
1904. So some of these are rare. And
Talk about this one too.
and actually this,
Tyrone Live,
yeah,
co-author.
yeah, that's it.
I donated one book.
So
And
all of this has to be organized, and because I'm not a librarian, we're gonna have to need a librarian for change, who can volunteer his or her time to do this.
and this here's
Yeah. And the same thing as in library, everything that's electronic, CDs, DVDs, tapes, and whatever, that are all Filipino.
guess who did this? Ronnie Lim.
Okay, well, then, if that's the only thing in there.
That's the only thing that's in there.
That's the only thing that's in there, that's your fault.
Out.
It's a work in progress.
It is.
This is
My
letter
house
L.
is a mess because of, it's working
Not all this needs to be filed in
Oh, my
individual
Lord.
folder.
too much.
That's the reason why I can't do the,
Mail.
I don't know. Well, you don't have anything else on you.
don't matter. All I got maybe for some of them is just a business card. What it does is proves that he exists.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to put
Want
this
tape?
in the folder?
I'll put it in.
That's my father.
Yeah, I know.
He's baton, death to baton
It's got your middle name in there? All
survivor.
right, good.
We all take 10 boxes over here.
You can put this on the Oregon Chapter. Oregon Chapter.
Okay, this goes upstairs. Yeah. Okay.
If you like to put it there.
Thank you. California should do that, through the congressmen, through the senators, through the
Well,
representatives.
and then.
It's hard for us in Oregon to do it because it will be in Stockton.
Yeah, but it's a national organization.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a national
Yeah,
museum.
it's true that I could also point out. If
So
needed-
the trustees are gonna have to develop a plan. What could the trustees do?
That's what we're doing.
Well, communication don't mean anything. Okay.
This one. But I can put yours here so you don't have to find it an extra. The next tour is Dr. Dorothy Cordova
You're right.
for the
I'll show you my mess. Fred's orderly, I'm messy.
you can start with the demonstration.
So I run the administrative part, so I handle all the bills, and then I do the researcher. I'm the researcher. So I do research, but I stopped doing as much research as I used to. But all the files here and on the other side and in the storeroom are all what you call primary research. So people use our stuff.
Do they?
Yeah, a lot.
Really?
Every video that's come out on, mostly around 90% of the videos that have come out on Filipinos in the last 20 years have come and used our photographs.
Oh, man.
So we have, these are all negatives, and we have slideshows, and these are original photos. These are albums, and original photos according to the people who lent them to us or gave them to us. There are photographs in there. Those are people who let us hold their stuff. And then we have photos everywhere. As you can tell, the large photographs, some of these were little snapshots, and they were blown up for exhibits. So the quality of work that we found out was, in the old days, was much better than the ones that they have now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if you look at this picture here,
She's beautiful.
this was a snapshot around 3 by 2.
Oh, really?
And see, you can see the detail.
But did you get that from a copy of the photo, or do you have the
We have
video?
Clearing.
Oh,
We have one of the originals.
It's clear.
I wish I had started earlier, but a lot of people, what was a shame was, and after World War II, he was part of that American services, the ones who were trained in California. Because these were all, these guys were trained in California. They were the Filipinos here in the United States. So when the war broke out, they enlisted in the service, but there was a call that they were starting, first 1 infantry, Fred?
First infantry. It's the first and second
infantry and
Philippine
second
infantry.
infantry. They
That's
were
right.
two.
U.S. Army.
The U.S. Army, and this is taken in California. So with your dad was in the Philippines, at the same time, these men were training to go to the Philippines to liberate.
oh, really?
Yeah, they were told that they could become American citizens. Prior to that, they couldn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like my parents, my dad was too old, but he couldn't become a citizen until after 52. But this is 1944.
Yeah.
So, and then by virtue of that, then when they went to the Philippines and married what we call a war bride, they could bring their war brides over here. So the whole thing started. But anyway, so we just gathered a lot of photographs, and we've done maybe, probably around 7 or 8 major photo exhibits. And one was called Filipino Women in America, and that went to the Smithsonian. And then we were too poor to bring it back home. By that time, we were running out of money, and so we left it in a house. One of my friends housed it, and then she sold her house. So we gave it to our chapter in Virginia Beach, and you know what they did? It was a huge exhibit, beautiful. It was 8 feet high and 4 feet wide. There were 16 panels and huge pictures, and the museum did an exhibit on Filipinos, and after it's done, they give us their photographs, which is, that's a good thing. If you want to get photographs that are good, because it costs a lot. See, what they do is if there's any imperfection, an artist, well, your husband's an artist, you're an artist, they touch up every bit. So even if it's an old photo, they'll touch it up so it'll be good for exhibits. But as you can tell, the big photos that we have a whole bunch of them in storage, big ones. And so part of our problem here is storage. That's why the community has one of our photo exhibits, because at least it's out there and people see it every day. And if people want to borrow it, they have to call me, and then I give them permission for them to, because we have a rolling thing. But so we have the exhibits, and actually what started FANHS, and I'll show you here, the oral histories. We have something like 200 oral histories, and they're all here. They're cataloged on tapes in alphabetical order. And we started to do these these are from 1980, but I have a few here that were 1973, 74. So you can imagine. So most of the people we've interviewed have died. And it's good. And what happened is the reason why I'm saying people come here is we have the largest collection of primary materials on Filipinos in the whole country. And almost everybody who's done it, they started after we did. And so people were long gone. If they started in the 80s, well, we were doing it in the 70s. And plus the fact that I knew the people. And then in the 80s, we were going into communities, and I had community people, like you did, go into the community and ask their friends. But we have oral histories from Detroit, from Chicago. And it was funny because when I got the grant, we wanted to do oral histories on Filipinos and Koreans because the two largest groups coming into the United States immigrating were the Filipinos and Koreans, and yet there was hardly anything on either one. So I got the grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, and right in the middle, when they okayed us, they told me I can't do research, that I had to do public program. So, well, initially though, they didn't give us any money, and they turned me down. This is back in 1979, and I had been told by a friend of mine who worked for the National Endowment to write now because everything's changing in DC. So I hurriedly wrote this proposal, and it was done in a hurry, so they could tell, you know, I write proposal, you have to match it up. And they said, I'm sorry we turned you down. He called me up and he said, I said, then why the hell are you calling me up? I don't want to hear that. And he said, because we like it and we wanted you to rewrite it. So they gave me $25,000 to rewrite a proposal. You don't get that kind of money anymore.
Really?
I mean, I'm happy if I get $5,000 to do a year and a half but there was money then. And so what happened then is I brought in all these scholars here, and including Marina Spina. I had just heard about her. I never had met her. And I brought her here, and we had all these writers, N.V.M. Gonzalez, Ben Santos, you know, all these famous guys. They were mostly men, Fred, all these guys who were, and the women, we were the staff people. And Marina comes in from New Orleans, and she was late. And Marina is this researcher from Louisiana who did the research on the Filipino villages that were built in 1763 or there. And she walks in and she has a slideshow and she shows these old pictures, I think I have some around here somewhere, of these families back in the 1800s, and where you have already 3 generations of people. It blew everybody away. The men couldn't say anything because they had nothing like that. So anyway, that started, and we Ronnie Gonzalo Ray Alejandro was part of our and I didn't call him, he called me. So what happened is, once people heard about this project, isolated people around the country who were doing their own thing started to contact us because, you know, we needed to get together. So anyway, this thing came out, we collected around a little less than 200 Filipino and Korean things, and we transcribed less than 1/3. So most of these have to be transcribed, yeah.
Still has to be transcribed.
Right, and then subsequently I did some other things. I did Filipino women, and then I did some Asian things. In the beginning, most of the trustees were Seattle. And what we did then is, as the years went by, we dropped them until there's only 2 in Seattle. You can't imagine what we have. I mean, I was just telling Fred, I was going through some of my stuff. I must have been a crazy lady in the old days, you know, when you're younger. I mean, I was going from, that's why I'm saying I'm disorganized, because I go from one project to another. My mind is, and it's nuts. But it was good that we were chronicling a lot of stuff. When the new immigrants were coming in, I was already doing research before we started FANHS. I also have not only this, but around in the 80s, around 1985, I started to do journal writing groups. And that's shorter, but it's a group thing, and you did it in Portland. Every year in March they have a Women's History Month, and I was telling them I had gone to this, where these senior citizens were writing their history, and I thought that was what she wanted. This woman then said, I'll teach you how to do journal writing. And she was a Jewish woman, but what happened is she taught us a different kind of journal writing. She did the survivors of the Holocaust. And what she did then is she makes them remember things they forget. And every time I've done this project, we were trained that every time you do the project the way that we're trained to do it, you've done mine, people cry. I mean, can you make them remember things they don't want to remember, you know, hurtful things? Right. But sometimes they write funny things, sometimes they write sad things, sometimes not so much. But it's really, these are good. The oral histories are good, but they're long and they're terrible to transcribe. Each tape takes around 3 or 4 hours to transcribe.
Well, it's hard to understand.
It's hard, yeah.
And they wander.
They wander, and when you transcribe on this, by the way that a real transcriber transcribes, you do all the imperfections. So if he said, I am, you write down, I am, you don't change, otherwise you're changing their voice.
Right.
You don't write, some people go, why did you do that? And I said, because that's the way we were trained. Because then if you say, I did this, that's your voice, not their voice. And because of that, when starting around the mid-'80s, I started to pull out, extrapolate parts and pieces of these things, and we started to have, like that red one, we started to do, what's it called? The poverty readers. Right, we have the poverty readers. And the people then would just, I would write down everything, and they have their voices, you know, with all the imperfections, and they read it, and they become that person.
They dramatize
They
it.
dramatize it, and I teach. That's why I teach some of this
With the accent.
with the accent.
The
Right.
accent.
I love it.
Yeah.
We had that play that we had.
And I took the class too.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I just laughed myself sick.
It's really the way it
It's
should be.
wonderful.
Uh-huh.
I think it's.
And the
when
students like it too.
Maria was taking the Filipino-American history class under their
Oh, yeah, and we-
leadership, and Maria imitated my voice.
She did her mom. And it was funny because there were 65 kids in the class and Maria was the first one.
Maria
And after
Macri.
that, everybody was thinking, oh my God, do I have to do my reading? And they were all trying to imitate her. I mean, but they couldn't do.
My
Lord-
daughter does that, imitates people.
Right,
You
that's-
know, with the accent, and she just has me rolling on the ground, you know, I mean, it's so funny.
But
Because you get them down to the, you
down
know,
to the thing.
sack.
But that's the way they speak. That's
Yeah.
that's the person. Until they did some research that I realized. I mean that I found out that my father was one of the 4 businessmen who donated money to the original fund. And so, you know, and that's good what research does. Part of what I'm looking for, I think, is my dad. So when I would interview people, I'd say, did you know my father? Could you tell me something about him? You know, just little bits and pieces. But 72, 73.
Who does the transcribing, you do?
No, this first one says we're probably going to bring. I have 3 scanners. I bought one. I've actually bought 2, and one, but it wasn't working. It wasn't hooked up to the right. And then my grandson left his. And we'll let people scan pictures, and I'll teach them how to get on to look for the arrival. They can even look up military records.
Okay.
So
In the Philippines? Like
Yeah.
the Philippines counts?
well, as long as it was U.S. Army.
No, Philippines
Philippines,
counts.
but then they became
Yeah,
U.S.
they
Army.
became, yeah.
Yeah, they were
But they
US.
had this,
He was
They-
accepted in the U.S.
yeah, but
military.
his Philippine records are still in the Philippines probably.
No,
because-
his Philippine records, as long as it was before World War II, are probably in St. Louis. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
asked for his records, but it
Liz
doesn't
is in
start
St.
until
Louis.
46.
St. Louis.
Okay, well, you double check on St. Louis, because St. Louis would be where they keep the military records.
They have all the military records
Yeah.
there.
Then you know there was a fire there, and I don't know what was damaged. It was, but it was. So this is pretty much. There's a lot of. I have students who come in here. I try to con my students into transcribing for me.
Oh, really?
I give them extra credit.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, of course.
I tell them, oh, you can learn these books. These are the pictures I had in the books, and they've all got to be scanned, and then I'll return them. But this, I don't know, Fredo, we're teaching again at the
Yes.